Hey, I'm on my way to see a friend that I've known online for quite a while now. I'm making the trip to go visit him finally and to check out his family's farm. I'm really grateful for my friend inviting me up there today, because had a rough day yesterday. Lost a friend and a co-worker. My friend Sonny, he was 73 years old, and I've known him for basically ever since I've been started driving for the contractor that I drive for now. So it's been probably about a year and a half, year and 5 months, somewhere around there. And, you know, I hadn't seen him in about, I guess about 6 weeks or so, 5 or 6 weeks. You know, I'd talk to my friend very often. I know the first day that I was at work training, he was talking to the girl that was training me that day to drive, and he heard me talking, and he asked me where I was from with that accent. Told him, and you know, I live about 3.5-4 hours from where I'm from, in southeast Tennessee, and told him where I was from, and he knew the area. You know, years ago he had driven a truck for a good portion of his life, and he would deliver stuff up there to Johnson City, Kingsport, Elizabeth, and he knew the area that I was from. And over time, a lot of the mornings I'd be in there, be loading up, I'd go talk to him and his wife Linda. And you know, something really sweet, something I really admire about Sonny and his wife was she came to work with him. She rode the route with Sonny. You know, she wasn't paid to do this, but she did it anyway. You know, it's something really sweet, I think. Something really admirable. You know, I mean, how many husbands and wives would do something like that, you know? I've joked around with Miranda sometimes. I'm like, Miranda, I'm gonna make you come to work with me the way Linda and Sonny does. You know, you ain't gonna be making no money, but you're gonna be helping me. We'll be hanging out together. You know, it's something really sweet, something really admirable. It's something that you don't see nowadays very often. You know, I only knew him a small fraction of the man's life. Like I said, you know, I hadn't seen him in about 5 or 6 weeks. During this time, I'd call him ever so often, check on him, see how he's doing. We had some really interesting conversations. I know whenever I was at work, those mornings when I'd be loading up, hold the camera here, I'm very ill-prepared for making a video like this. I'm afraid my camera's just gonna go skittering off the dashboard any second. Yeah, you know, I only knew him a fraction of his life, like I said. But we'd talk a lot. I asked him a lot of questions about things. You know, I wouldn't doubt sometimes he's like, man, that boy likes to talk. You know, it's something I try to do now. I'd advise any of you watching it, you know. I like to try to talk to older people. You know, I like to try to talk to older people, ask them questions about themselves, about how, you know, perhaps how life used to be. Me and him, we'd conversate on a lot of different things, about fishing. We'd talk about history. We'd talk about the state of the world that we live in today. But you know, and it's something, you know, living down here. You know, I don't talk to a lot of people. You know, I'm a fairly quiet person, at least until I get to know you. And you know, it's kind of a shock to me that I got into making videos, you know, almost 2 years ago. But I really enjoyed talking to him. You know, I'm gonna miss him. You know, it's been a sad. I got the news yesterday when I was working near the end of my route. I was almost done. Our boss texted us all the bad news. But you know, when things like this happen, it makes you, you know, think about things. It makes you think about life. You know, there's this question, this age-old question that I have wondered about since, you know, actually quite a young age, you know. This age-old question is it fate? Are we governed by fate? Or is it free will? You know, this camera over. Is it fate or free will, though? Which is it? You know, our pagan ancestors, you know, they believed in fate. Well, they believed in fate, but there was also, you know, free will. You know, they acknowledged this, but, you know, in the myths, they had the three Norns who were weaving us mortals' fates. And you know, in Christianity, you know, we often hear of free will. Sometimes, though, lately I've thought that this question, hold on a second. Sometimes lately I've thought that perhaps this question is a sort of false dichotomy, really. You know, it's kind of like the individualist versus collectivist argument. You know, it's interesting to think about, but in some ways I can't help but feel that it's a false dichotomy. As far as fate and free will goes, you know, there's really no way, you know, to know which it is. You know, if we look at the past, at our individual histories, kind of look at it through a lens of fate. You know, that's what happened, and that's what was meant to happen. But if we look from the present towards the future, it's undetermined. So we have this view of free will, you know. Myself, I think, honestly, it isn't so much one or the other, but I think it's both, you know. Sometimes in life it's easy to feel like we're just drifting through with little control of our own. But you know, I look at things through, you know, I guess what you would call Hegel's view of history. You know, his view of history is that, you know, we couldn't get to this point, whether it be you on an individual level, me on an individual level, our people as a collective. You know, we couldn't get to this period today without all the things happening in history. You know, it's impossible to calculate, you know, just how different things are. And, you know, in life, we leave prints, we leave our fingerprints upon other people, you know, metaphorically speaking. We leave impressions. Some do, some, you know, much more so than others. Your family, your significant other, your wife, your husband, your children, your grandparents, your friends. I mean, even what you would consider your enemies. They leave impressions on you. Sometimes quite deep impressions. But even the insignificant. You know, there's a couple of people that's one thing I've noticed. You know, there's people that come into your life. They may be there for a short period of time, just a few months, to get to know them a little bit. But they leave impressions. They leave their fingerprint on you. And, you know, it may seem insignificant, but, you know, even the most insignificant of things, you know, the implications of it down the road could be quite substantial. So yeah, I think the fate versus free will, it's kind of a false dichotomy, perhaps. You know, there's no other way of knowing, I don't think. And I think, honestly, it's a mixture of both. You know, I wouldn't be here talking to you. You know, I wouldn't be making videos if all the things that happened in my life, you know, they all led me to this. You know, it was a couple of days ago. It was 3 years ago, exactly. A couple of days ago. Me and Miranda left. We left Rome Mountain. Moved down here. Where we live currently. And, you know, I went through several years of, you know, bad times. Said before, I was into meth, in and out of jail, was a criminal, was a thief. You know, I left, you know, to get away from it. And, you know, looking at it, you know, during this time, you know, I did plenty of things I regret, things I wish I hadn't done, but, you know, really, is there any sense in regretting these things, you know? I mean, I wasted 3-4 years of my life chasing a high. And, you know, put my family through a lot of worry. Put Miranda through a lot of worry. I don't know how she, you know, I've said before, I don't know how she stayed with me during these years. But I'm convinced thoroughly, you know, that without these bad times, without these, you know, what I'd say, dark times, I wouldn't be here talking to you. You know, I think sometimes in life that some of us need to see the dark to just realize, you know, how powerful the light is. And, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about the coming dark winter, and I think things could get hairy. Things could get rough, you know. I think perhaps, you know, there is dark times ahead for us all. But there is one positive, you could say, is that in darkness, even the smallest of lights, just a small flame, appear very bright in such times. But anyway, yeah, I'm very grateful my friend invited me to come up here to his farm today. Otherwise, Miranda's at work, I'd probably just be languishing around the house. Another little bit of advice, in your life, some of you younger men and younger women, talk to your grandparents. Go visit them. My grandparents, they've all been dead and gone for a long time now. Long time. Talk to them. Visit them. Because it does both of you a lot of good. Ask them things. Because, you never know. My friend Sonny here, he'd gotten sick about 5-6 weeks ago, and he was recovering. I talked to him several times over the phone, and, then it was just 6-7 days ago, got the text that he had been put in the hospital. While he was in there, he had started to get a little better, but then all of a sudden, yesterday he went on. Talk to your grandparents, talk to older people. You can learn a lot from them. But anyways, that's just some thoughts. It'd been over a week since I'd made a video. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.